Oops.
I thought you said 10 seconds.
It just started now. So you got to hit it, and then we'll get started right away.
See, I have no way to... I can't see this.
That's okay.
So
You're
I'm
good.
just going to...
There you go.
We got to work on that.
Yeah, I couldn't see what... Normally I can see myself, but since now we're all fancy with the Facebook,
That's right.
I can't see on the
Welcome to
screen.
the Lift Heavy Run Long podcast, episode number 68 with Sam Renfrow. You can find us at www.liftheavyrunlong.com, on Twitter and Instagram at liftrunlong. Also, feel free to email me directly at the address wilson@liftheavyrunlong.com. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. If you are not a member of our private Facebook group, you should be because we want you to be there. Search for Lift Heavy Run Long Community and request to join right now. I am super pumped.
I have a question, real quick.
Shoot.
Before you get super pumped. I don't think
I'm
we're
already
private
super
anymore.
pumped.
I think it's an open group, correct?
It's public, yes.
Okay, so you don't have to request anymore. You can
You still
just
have
join.
to request, which
okay.
is weird.
Okay, I just saw that it was open, so I didn't know if you had to do that anymore.
It's just open to the fact that they can see what's been posted,
Okay, gotcha.
but you still have to request.
But if you want to
join.
be in the group, you have to request.
Yeah,
Okay, all right.
Somebody has to approve it, or is it just us that has to approve it?
just somebody has to.
Oh, well,
approve.
that sucks, because I kind of felt like I had the key to the thing.
Oh, yeah.
Well, before
You know?
anybody, even when it's private, anybody can. We had it set to where
Anybody that's
could-
in the group,
could
I just never
join it.
realized that.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that either, honestly.
I'm just going to still pretend like I'm the
We're
guy.
going to be relying on 5,000 of our closest friends and their judgment.
No, I'm just going to continue to pretend like I'm the one guy that approves
Oh, yeah.
people.
You just got to be fast, man. You just got to wait and be ready and be expecting somebody to want to join, and that's how you get to do that. Bam, bam,
Yeah,
bam.
yeah. So this whole thing in my head is like, when I approve somebody, I'm like, yeah, I bet Wilson got a notification that somebody joined. And then he went to Adam and I already did it.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like,
I see this being a competition. Yeah, okay.
I do
Who's gonna
look
win
back
this one?
at who's approved who, and I'm
yeah.
like, I missed all of those.
well, I didn't even know you could do that.
There's a lot of things you can do. Hey, we got a review.
We did.
We did.
right.
And
How
I'm
many
gonna-
stars?
5 of them.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All of them. I've got a feeling that they were going to do more, but they could only do 5.
We should petition iTunes to add another star.
Kind of like this is Spinal Tap.
They're giving us an extra star.
Yeah, our stars go to 6.
Yeah.
Yes, they do. Listen to it. It's awesome. It's titled Can't We All Just Get Along? And it's by Leah Bean. Have you noticed that it seems that people who run and people who lift weights tend to be in separate camps? It doesn't have to be that way. We can lift heavy, run long, and all get along. Just ask the folks on the Lift Heavy Run Long podcast. They are good old Southern boys and gal hitting up their local CrossFit and ultra-endurance trail races in their free time. They're funny, down-to-earth, and engaging while interviewing inspiring, everyday people doing the same. They prove that you don't have to choose between running and lifting weights. You can have the best of both worlds. Lee Genders Fitness.
That's right. Shout out to her. I went and looked at her website.
Go
Yeah.
to Lee Genders Fitness.
She's got a good website.
Yeah.
website. She's got a really good one.
Yeah, I like it.
She's out of Texas, it looked like. Fort Worth, Texas.
And very, very nice things that she said about us.
Yeah. Thank you.
I am ultra amped, like throw up right here on the floor, excited about this podcast.
There you go.
I love Sam Renfrow.
Nice. Who doesn't?
Yeah.
That's the question. Who doesn't love Sam Renfrow?
Tell us about your enemies.
That's right.
I can't think. Maybe there's one or two. I don't know.
We're gonna find you one. I'm gonna introduce the people I have with me. I have to my right my virtuous, celestial, wholesome, and beautiful wife.
Do you write that down?
Did I write what down?
It
Do
kinda
you write those down? It looks like every week now you're starting to read from
it
your
did.
computer.
Yeah.
I'm reading-
I kind of caught that too.
I'm reading from my heart is where I'm reading from.
Are you
Uh-oh,
typing
she's
it down?
checking.
I'm reading straight from my heart.
Oh, you do
Cover the
type it down.
screen.
Vaughn, thank you for your support on that.
I'm a terrible wingman.
You're a horrible
I
wingman.
didn't realize that.
You're coming off of your 15th anniversary is today. You've made it 15 years by handling situations like that. I bet all your friends are divorced.
Terrible. Yeah.
Ouch.
2 weeks.
My wife has a meeting with Scott Hollis tomorrow.
Uh-oh.
Should I?
That's a little scary.
I'm kind of worried.
Oh, the divorce
man.
lawyer.
2 weeks. I have written down a couple of vocabulary words.
So what was your vocab word today? Celestial?
Celestial.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's where that.
Amanda,
came
did you
from.
get a tattoo on your wrist?
I've had it. It's
you had it for
Wilson's
a long
EKG.
time?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think I knew that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Nice.
pretty strong.
Do you have a tattoo of my EKG on your wrist, Sam?
No, I don't. You know?
Vaughn, we've known each other long enough to where you should
should.
have a tattoo of something.
I should, but I'm not. I haven't decided yet. After the 100, I might do something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something that represents me.
It's very possible. I have some ideas in my head, but you know.
Yeah.
Let's keep this about me as much as we can.
He wants your face in the small of his back.
I'm gonna
Oh,
do.
yeah,
That's
there
what
you
he
go.
needs.
I'm gonna do the number 72.
There- oh, yeah.
Actually, it'd be the number 9, and you can tell people that it's like 7
Yeah.
plus 2 is. I don't know where I'm going with that.
Well, Vaughn, I told Wilson before you got here, I started showing up in some football gear and say, okay, you ready to throw down? You know, let's not just talk about the game. Let's
That's
live
right.
It, you know, let's go do it now.
And you
Wow.
can see why I love Sam
Yeah.
because he wants to come here and start talking shop.
Did
Oh,
you
yeah.
Did you happen to go to Germantown High School?
Oh no,
Okay.
I was much smaller, low key than that. You know, can't live in the stratosphere like Wilson.
I'm going to keep introducing people.
That okay?
If in case anyone hasn't noticed, the camera is not moving over there. Not that they would notice because they can't see that camera.
Is that camera?
Oh, is it
turned
not even on?
It is on.
Oh, okay. I was posing
But
for it there for a minute.
I'll edit it in once it goes to YouTube. Our ketogenic cameraman, Christopher Perry, is on strike.
He is.
Yep. He felt like some things needed to change. He felt like that his wife, Candace, that her, what did I say she had?
Her business,
Her business, their income,
their livelihood.
It's like
their livelihood
Yeah,
was more important than
The
this
disease
podcast.
that she has.
was that the picket line out by the road out there? The people
Entrepreneur.
marching around.
So he couldn't make it, and I'm very, very sad about that. He said he would be on Facebook Live, but I bet that he's not.
He's probably not.
He's probably not ever coming
Dang.
back.
Well,
Vaughn?
mainly because I kicked him out of the group. He may have used his
Oh,
wife's
poor
account. Or
Chris.
something. What was I going to say about that? I don't know. But Candace is affecting everybody. This thing, my wife is going out of town this weekend. I can't go to the 24-hour run that y'all are doing
Why can't you do that?
because Holly's going to be gone with Chris's wife
Oh no,
working at the business.
Okay.
It's all tied
Well,
together.
that's what we don't need to be dragging. Let's drag Chris through the mud,
Right.
But we can't be dragging Candace through the mud because she has the potential to shut it all down.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's Chris's fault.
If she says no mas, we'll never see Chris again. If she calls Holly and says no mas, you're done. We'll be dropping like flies. Amanda, if she keeps finding out about me reading things off the computer screen,
Oh no, yeah.
I'm liable to be gone.
Saving lives.
I'll be coming at you live 24/7 from my home in my shop within the,
In the
in the
doghouse.
doghouse.
You should probably cut all that out.
Yeah.
We're live.
Whoops.
We don't have that option.
There's no cutting anymore.
No do over on that one.
We can't punt that ball.
Oh yeah, no
That's
mulligans.
already been turned over.
Because everybody's watching, I'm sure.
That's right.
They are.
Did we have any watchers? Anybody watch last week live?
243.
Live?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
For reals?
For reals.
Oh, I didn't think anybody was watching.
Well, they were.
Hi, everybody.
How many people?
That's right.
243.
Well, let's do a test. Are you watching?
No,
You're not watching on your phone? So we can,
because nobody else is.
well, I turned my phone off. Well, it's the first time I've done the Facebook Live thing, so I wasn't prepared.
That's how come there weren't 1,000 people that watched. Right now, I think we have 4.
So what I want is someone to ask a question so that we can see if anyone is really watching.
I'm not gonna do it because I'm gonna get thrown off track. I need to be on track and introducing.
Okay, I got you.
And
Sorry,
introducing
we've
my
totally
partner.
derailed.
Okay.
Totally derailed.
Vaughn Rawls, also known as the Reverend. It's good to see you, Mr. Rawls.
Hello, I'm glad to be here.
I missed you last week.
I know.
Yeah, glad you're back.
I ran a race last week.
How'd the race go?
It was fantastic. I ran a 4-mile race, and it was funny because like the whole reason I told you like 3 months ago that I wasn't going to be here because everybody at my work is going to do this 4-mile race downtown where we work, and I was the only one that showed up.
Uh-oh.
Everybody else.
Hey, Vaughn, we'll see you there, man.
Had
Okay.
other things to do. But we had a pretty good showing. We had Brian Swanson was there, and Bridget from the gym was there, and Caroline was there with her friend, and I ran at a 7:21
Holy moly.
pace
Strong.
for 4 miles. So I was pretty happy about that, especially since it was the end of the day, and I hate running at the end of the day.
Oh, I do too.
So it was fun. It was a lot of fun, actually. So that's where I
you
was
did great.
last week. I got 4th in my age group. Damn it.
That's why it's good to be older. I'll be 50 soon, and I
So
go to a new age
close.
group.
So at 4th, you don't podium.
That's all right. You don't get any hardware for 4, but my age group is terribly
Fast.
and
Yeah.
competitive. You got Adrian Hall, and he was there, and whoever else. These guys are
It sucks when you walk around a race and you start seeing faces. You're like, damn it. I'm going to be first,
when I
second,
know they're
third.
when I know they're in my age group and I know how fast they are, I'm like, hang it up.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
But it's some consolation that I made Adrian Hall try to climb a rope in a CrossFit gym one time, and he just fell apart trying to do thrusters and rope climb. So
Yeah. X-Lax brownies are
I'm
good
like,
for that.
I'm like, yeah.
And hitmen.
Oh, yeah. Take his kneecap out.
Kind of
you know,
stuff.
go Tanya Harding on him.
So we're going to talk about Sam Renfrow. There's a lot to know about you.
Yeah.
You have been a loyal listener, probably one of the most loyal listeners. You've come to the gym. You're a guy that everybody knows, everybody likes, and you're a great addition to the Lift Heavy Run Long family as well as the Olive Branch CrossFit family.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I've been riding around all week going, okay, I'm kind of an average, boring dude. Why is anybody going to be interested in anything I've got to say?
I don't know if I could be any more excited about having you sitting here.
Yeah.
Because
well, I'm glad to be
you
here.
you are such a down to earth guy that I don't have anything written down for us to talk about because
Yeah.
I knew that we can just shoot
just
the breeze, get
Yeah.
off course and back on it and
That's good.
off it again.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to be here.
Where were you raised?
I grew up in Ripley, Mississippi. My dad was in the Navy. He retired after 20 years, and he had all these great opportunities. He was a radar man in the Navy. And when he got out of the Navy about 1974, there were a lot of opportunities for microwave technology in beautiful locations like Antarctica, Alaska. And of course, he passed up those beautiful locations to move to Ripley.
Really?
So we moved to
Because
Ripley.
who doesn't want to move
Oh
to
yeah,
Ripley,
you don't want to move to
Mississippi?
Ripley. I mean, there's the Pizza Hut and the Walmart and the Sonic.
First
you cruise.
Monday?
Oh, that's horrible.
Mean.
That's terrible. I hate First Monday. But you jammed up traffic in town. There were 10 cars on the road instead of 3. But so we moved there. And I'm an only child, and so it was a great place. They bought a little house, and there were trees and woods and stuff out beside it. And so I got a chance to go run in the woods and have a good time, and had a really good life growing up. So it was a good place.
How
small
old
town.
were you when you moved to Ripley, Mississippi?
I was 4 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I got moved to Byhalia, Mississippi when I was like 12,
Oh yeah.
11, and
Yeah.
I was pissed.
From where?
From Memphis, from Whitehaven.
Okay.
The big
But,
move.
like in the neighborhood out into the middle of the country.
Oh yeah, it's
You
different.
know what I mean? Like,
So you're like skater dude
I had
with
my
no place to skate.
I had my skateboard. I had my skateboard. Oh, listen, hey. I literally had one little walkway in front of the house. It was either on the front porch. I would ride my skateboard back and forth. And then we had this small walkways like this wide. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Honing those skills.
Yeah.
Did you feel like you were in forever far away in Byhalia from Memphis?
You know, I don't know. I was just like, whoa, where are all my friends?
Well, Byhalia seemed like Olive Branch from Germantown in
It's forever
1992
away.
was forever
Yeah.
away. When we used to have to drive down here to get beer, it was like we got to go all the way to Mississippi because that gas station used to have a drive-through.
The one right here, I probably sold you beer when I was 15.
I never made it out this far because this was like a different country.
Oh, okay.
Like I wouldn't even know how to get to Byhalia.
Oh, okay. So you just had to go across the state line.
We used to have keg parties out off Center Hill Road, and the police came out there one point in time, and a bunch of people were on my friend's Blazer. You know, like police show up, and all of a sudden there's 15 people like clinging on for dear life while he's driving through, and he's knocking down all these little baby pine trees. So when I drove past down Center Hill Road, I was like, where did we used to have those keg parties? And I see these pine trees that are like 30 feet tall. And I'm like, wow,
That's it.
Yeah.
Holy mackerel. So we used to get down pretty close to Byhalia. So back to you, Sam. You lived you moved to Columbus, Mississippi.
Yeah, that was, after college and everything, my wife and I moved to Pittsburgh. We got married, went on a real short honeymoon to Gulf Shores, grabbed the dog, piled in a 2-seater car, and moved to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We lived there for a while, and then we moved back to Columbus, which is where she's from. So that's, kind of the story. Lived there for about 13 years and just needed a change and ended up moving to South Haven. So
You're a Mississippi State guy?
Oh, yeah.
You have 2 kids?
I have. I've got 3 boys.
3 boys.
One's at Mississippi State, one's at Northwest Community College, and one's at DeSoto Central High School.
Okay. Yeah. Is the one at DeSoto Central going to go to Mississippi State?
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
You just writing checks left.
Well,
and right.
my wife's still in school. She's getting her master's degree. She's a nurse. She's a nurse at St. Jude, but she decided she'd go back and get her master's degree. So she's getting that. So
good for her.
The whole Renfrow family, except
Everybody's
for me, will be in college. Yeah. So, and every time I go back to Mississippi State, I try to figure out, okay, I got some eligibility left. Maybe I go back.
You're getting closer.
What else could
and
I
closer.
major in?
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun in Starkville.
You've gotten so fit, you could probably see the field.
Well, yeah, maybe.
You could walk on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They need a tackling dummy.
You should do that. We'll follow you out there with the camera, and some sound equipment,
documentary.
and you'll be our guy.
The 49-year-old quarterback. I can see it now. Oh, yeah.
How does your wife like going back to school?
It's different. When you go through school the first time you're young and your priorities are a little messed up, and the second time you go back to school, she raised our kids, stayed home with them, made a big sacrifice. She's had a passion to be a nurse since she was young, and she didn't do it, and raised the kids, and then once the kids were old enough, she went back to school at the University of Memphis and got her nursing degree. She's had it for about 3 years now, 2.5 years, and so started working. So once she started working, whenever she was in school, her clinical instructors, she saw a passion to become a clinical instructor. She wanted to impact people's lives. And so that's really her long-term goal is clinical instruction. And I don't think she'll leave St. Jude because she loves it. Once you go there, you don't come back sort of thing. But she's done a whole lot better as a student this time around. Grades are a whole lot better.
I'm telling you what, I hated school at 4. I hated it at 14. I hated it at 40.
Oh, yeah, me too.
If I never take another structured class, it will be.
You'll be okay.
I won't be okay. I'll still be mad about the structured classes that I took before. I'm taking one now. I signed up for a writing class.
Oh, wow.
Terrible decision.
Well, see, you wrote it all down. Look at the great poetry you wrote down for Amanda.
I hate it.
He did not write anything down.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot.
Vaughn's already looked at it. He's pointed it out.
I would love to go back to school.
I know you would.
Oh, when I was on campus taking that test a few months ago, I told you. It just
made you happy?
Oh, it did. I just wanted to jump into a classroom and grab books and start studying.
Because you'd go in there and dominate.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know about that.
That's the same reason you like CrossFit. You can just walk in there and dominate.
No,
Oh, yeah.
no, but I think
Oh,
it's
yeah.
just like it's a comfort thing to sit in class, the group of people, you've got the instructor, and they tell you what to learn, and what to do and what to read, and I like for people to tell me what to do.
You like for people to tell you.
Yeah, I like that. And, then to display that I throw up my knowledge that I know what they told me and display it on
Wow.
test. I like that.
Confident.
Yeah, it feels good to be the smart person in the class.
I'm not saying that.
Oh yeah.
I did
anyway.
that when I went to the 2-year school for the web development thing, and I'd already been like a web developer for a couple of years, and so at this time it was so early in like 2000s where it was the technology was so far ahead of what school was teaching that it was like going to school was a breeze.
Oh, yeah. You already knew all that.
Like, are you seriously? That's a question on the test? Yeah, I got it. The teacher's talking. I'm like, yeah, I already
got
know the
that
answer.
one.
Tell me.
Well, and you kind of came from that. You were in that genre or generation that just kind of took computers and everybody talked to each other and you figured out how to work computers.
Right.
If
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you just learned to build computers in your house and all that good stuff. So,
I would have. I wish I knew what you know
Yeah. So anyway,
about
It's a
computers.
scary place to go, isn't it?
Teach me everything you know starting now. You got 20 minutes.
meet me at 4 a.m. tomorrow.
All right. So, how'd you get into fitness? Tell me a little. You gave me some background on your life that was some pretty real stuff.
Okay.
If
Well,
you don't mind.
One of the things I believe is when you go into a gym or whatever it might be, there's always a why. Why did you come in here? And I work kind of an industrial setting, and as I was thinking about it today, and I was thinking about why, there's a quality process called the 5 whys. They say if you ask yourself why 5 times, you'll get to the root cause or the bottom line or whatever it may be. And when I ask myself, okay, why do you come to the gym? Some people come to the gym to look better naked. That's a good reason to come to the gym, I guess. But, really for me, it's about functional fitness. And about back in 2002, my dad was diagnosed with cancer. And he had got done with work, retired. He and my mom went to Branson, Missouri. He came back from Branson, Missouri, started feeling really bad. And I said, hey, you seem like you felt bad for a while. What's going on? He said, I just can't get over this cough and, got a cold, just don't feel good. I said, why don't you go to the doctor? And he's like, well, I don't think I'm going to. I said, well, I'm going to come down here and carry you to the doctor if I have to, but you're going to the doctor. So he went to the doctor and goes and sees the doctor, and the doctor said, well, you got an appointment in Tupelo tomorrow with a lung specialist at 7 o'clock in the morning. So I knew immediately something was wrong. So he went to the doctor in Tupelo, and come to find out he was diagnosed with stage 5 cancer in 5 different organs. He had it in his kidney, liver, lung, spleen,
Wow.
all over
This
his
is
body.
the first that he's heard of
First
cancer,
he's heard
period.
of it. Yeah, I didn't know anything about it. And so he ended up had cancer, was diagnosed, I believe, October 2002. So we did a lot of things. We went to Disney and all the things you want to do before your dad dies. And my dad and I had a real close relationship. Growing up as an only child, he was my playmate. He was my role model. I wanted to be like him. I tell people all the time when I was young, I drew pictures of myself, and I wasn't a very good artist, but I was always 6'4". Didn't quite make it, but he was 6'3", big guy. When you look at your dad, he's 10 foot tall and bulletproof. He's never going to die. He's just going to live forever. And my dad was this big, strong, tough guy, and all of a sudden he's got cancer. And all of a sudden he starts losing weight. And he made it till June of 2003. And he passed away in hospice in the living room in the house I grew up with. That's a difficult dose of medicine. And so I watched him go through that. And to kind of take it a step further, probably 6 months later, I went on a Cub Scout camping trip, and this guy brings out these dishes that had probably been in this Rubbermaid container for several years, and ends up about 2 weeks later, I'm at work one day and had this terrible headache. And I go home, and Nurse Pamela takes good care of me. But about midnight that night, I said, man, I'm not feeling so good. I got this really bad headache. So she takes me down to the ER. They check me out. I've got spinal meningitis. So they admit me to the hospital. I'm in the hospital for 3 or 4 days. So fast forward a little bit further, I got over it. It was no big deal. It wasn't life-threatening. But fast forward to Super Bowl Sunday 2004, since my dad died, my mom basically closed the blinds, locked the doors, and didn't come out of the house. Several months later, she started going back to the church and going to singings at the church. Well, I get a call one night after church from her best friend, and she said, "Hey, I'm a little worried about your mom. She didn't come to school today, or she didn't come to church today. She didn't go to work today. Her truck's not at the house. I'm just really worried." And my mom was one of those people that we had this old Thunderbird. She'd go out and get in the Thunderbird, and wah, wah, and she'd pump the brake until she just flooded the thing out, and it'd go dead. And we'd have to start it back up. And then we'd back out in the street, and it'd die again, because she'd scared to death to drive. She's white knuckling the whole way. Well, I knew she wasn't going anywhere in the truck, long story short. But anyway, my father-in-law and I jump in my truck. We head to Ripley, Mississippi. We stop by the police department, pick up the police chief, and we ride out to my mom's house. And I unlock the door, and I walk in, I walk down, walk to the end of the hall, house I grew up right by my bedroom, and here lays my mom in a pool of blood. And, I had no idea. I'm like, is she alive? Is she dead? I run down to the end of the hall. She's laying in a pool of blood. She's got the hook out of her jogging pants. The line is wrapped around her neck. And she opens her eyes, and she looks at me. But she can't talk, nothing. So the police chief's standing behind me, and he says, you need to get out of here. Go outside. Let me take care of this. Well, Life Flight ambulance comes in, lands at the church down the road, takes her to the hospital in Tupelo. Don't know if she's going to make it. It was real touch and go for a while. Ends up a friend of mine from my childhood. I don't really know how it all happened, but he had gotten into the house, had beat her with a gun, the stock of a gun. I think he basically left her for dead, stole her truck, came to Memphis, and was going to try to sell the truck here in Memphis. Ends up stopping to get gas somewhere in Memphis, ask a policeman for some money to buy some gas. Policeman walks by the truck, sees some paraphernalia in the truck, ends up arresting him. And, so within probably not even 12 hours, he's arrested. But my mom was about 75, got back to about 75%. She had to learn how to walk, had to learn how to talk.
Oh, my God.
She was in outpatient rehab for several months. So prior to that, I had told my dad before he died that I wanted to run a half marathon. And so I was training. I was pretty much ready to run the half marathon. When I went and stayed with her in inpatient rehab, I stopped running, and I started getting out of shape. And so we found out in 2005 she had cancer. She never went to the doctor, and ends up she had colon cancer. So 2005, November 2005, she passed away. So within about a 2-year span of time, it was just bam, and adversity after adversity after adversity. And, they always say that these adversity builds character, and character gives you hope. And I always tell people, if adversity builds character, I'm turning into Mickey Mouse. Because, man, I got all the character I need, man. And, my faith really got me through all that. It was a difficult time.
Did you find faith at that point?
No, I had it the whole time. My parents raised me as a Christian. They were Christians. And one of the great things I can say is I still remember going in. My mom was in the hospital. And I go in, and they tell you, when that person is pretty close to death, you need to go have a talk with them and tell them it's going to be okay. You're going to be all right. They can go ahead if they need to go on ahead and pass on, and just give them comfort that it's all going to be all right. I'd already had that talk with my dad, and I had it with my mom, and I'm sitting there, I'm laying over, I'm crying my eyeballs out, and I raise up and I look at her, and she's smiling, and I'm like, what the heck are you smiling for? She said, she always called my dad Big Sam. She said, I'm going to see Big Sam soon. And I said, okay, I get it now. And so it's one of those things where when you really have that faith and understand what's going on with your parents, and you understand that one of these days you're going to see them again, there's not a finality to it anymore. There's something else to hold on to for the long term. And that's really the only way I made it, because I can remember there were days where I got upset and I went out in the yard and I threw things and screamed and hollered and kicked, and people thought I was a fool as they drove by the house. But I was putting on quite the show. But at the end of it all, I understood, hey, there's a reason. But, to say all that, the reason why it's part of my why is my parents never went to the doctor. They never exercised a whole lot. Growing up, just about anything we ate was cooked in grease. We had a really not a great lifestyle, not a great diet. We drank Coke and sweet tea and all these things. So they never worried about their health. So that's my why, is I want to be functionally fit. And why do I want to be functionally fit? Because I want to bounce my grandkids on my knee one day. I mean, my parents died when my kids were very small. My youngest one doesn't even remember them. So it's it's hard for me to think about not being there for my grandkids one day. And so I know, I mean, a lot of people, they go in there, they want to squat 300 pounds. I just want to be able to bend over and pick up something off the floor, and I'm 70.
Amen.
I mean, that's kind of the core rule here, and my big thing when I came to CrossFit was, and my wife really sat me down and had a long talk with me. I still think I'm 25. So you walk in there and see Bailey, or you see Justin, or one of these other guys that works out at the gym. You're like, oh yeah, I'm going to keep up with Bailey. No, you're not really. I mean, you're going to watch him off in the distance. You're going to keep up with Vaughn. No, Vaughn's up there. He's eating bananas by the time I cross the finish line. I mean, so I have to have a real talk with myself sometimes and remind myself I'm 49 years old. Some of these things I may be able to do one day, but not today. And so it's a difficult come to Jesus meeting sometimes.
Well, and there's a level of strength that you've obviously proven to have come out on the other side of everything that you went through.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I've been through so many things, all of which have been self-induced. Mm-hmm. And I know what it's like to be angry at the world for stuff that I caused myself.
Right.
How did you manage that when you didn't have anything to do with any of this?
It's just one of those things where you persevere every day, and you just got to grind. I mean, you got to put your nose down.
I don't know what
grind,
it looks like to persevere every day through something like that.
Well, it's hard. I mean, during that time, I think, I've watched a lot of these transformational TV shows where a person's 400 pounds and they get to be 150 or whatever. Everybody, there's a reason for every addiction. And when I look at the food addiction, there's a reason why somebody got addicted to food. There's a reason why somebody got addicted to drugs. There's a reason why somebody got addicted to gambling or whatever the addiction might be. And a lot of times this adversity drives you to an addiction. And you got to find something to help you get through that, and really during that time I rested on family. I rested on faith. My family was always there for me. I'll never forget when we went to my dad's funeral. I talked at his funeral, spoke, and I talked about the legacy that we leave, how he left a legacy for me. My number one job, and one of my number one jobs in my life is to leave a legacy for my 3 boys, raise them up into good men, somebody I'd be proud of. And I still remember my dad, we were in the funeral home, and the casket's there, and my kids are swinging on the rails on the casket. And I'm like, oh, guys, stop. And my mom looks over at me, and she said, your daddy would be smiling right now.
God.
Let those kids swing on those rails. Let them swing. And, I'll never forget those kind of things because that's what he would have wanted. He'd want it to be happy, not sad. And so you got to, there's a lot of days where you don't want to get out of bed. You kind of want to just curl up in the fetal position or, go grab some alcohol and drown your misery, but you can't do that. You got to be there for your family, and you got to be proud. What would my dad want me to do in this situation? So.
Has there been any of that, any periods of time where you did just grab the alcohol or you did just lay in the bed?
No. I've had my weak moments. I'm not going to lie. You go through trials and tribulations through that. But, it's you said something the other day. I think you were having a bad day, and you said, I'm going to go to the gym and get to feeling better. And that's one of the great things. My mom was a very stressed out person. My dad was very laid back, almost to a fault, but my mom was always wound tight. And I can remember when I was younger and first got married, I'd go lay on the bed, with this really bad headache because I'm stressed about something so bad. But, our serotonin levels, we got to have something to get that serotonin level tweaked right. Exercise for me is that's what I do. The days I don't go to the gym, got to have an off day every once in a while. I find myself being miserable those days, because you start getting stressed out again. But as long as I go get my daily dose of the gym, hey, I'm okay. I can make it. I can keep my stress in check. And we also have to remember that there are only 2 things that we can control. That's our attitude and our actions. And so there's so many things we stress about. They're totally out of our control. And, you and I were talking earlier, I always have these visions of catastrophe. I'm walking along the side of a building. I think of myself smacking on the concrete, or I'm driving down the road. I just crash into that 18-wheeler.
And that's
I'm
all the
constantly
time.
fighting off these visions. And I'm like, that's really not going to happen. And I make through it okay. And I'm like, okay, I'm good now. But, it's just that moment leading into it. You got to talk yourself down off the ledge a little bit, And I deal with that sometimes. But, one thing I've started doing too, and you and I've talked a lot about my affinity for podcasts. I listen to a lot of them, kind of a podcast groupie. I've got about a dozen that I listen to regularly. And a lot of the common thread I hear on these podcasts, and something I've started doing, is a gratitude journal. I wake up every day and I got this little thing called Happy Feed on my phone, and every morning it says, okay, what are you happy about today? So I'll sit down and I'll write 3 things that I'm grateful for. And I found that if you really funnel your attitude towards gratefulness, you just can't start off with a bad day. If you really think about the things you're grateful for and thankful for, and it can be big things some days, and some days it's little things. I got up this morning and went to the gym, and only drank 1 cup of coffee and those types of things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you can dig pretty deep trying to find those things, but like they say, it's hard to be miserable and grateful at the same time.
Absolutely.
I'm a stickler for to-do lists, so I have like this little thing that rips off a sheet a day, that you can just write down your to-do list and stuff. And there's a box that says what I'm grateful for today.
Yeah.
And I always make sure and fill that out.
Yep.
Even if it's big or little or whatever.
No doubt.
It's a really weird thing. Like when I first started doing that, I was like, I can't be grateful for that. Like those little bitty, like you can be like, it doesn't
I got
matter.
new shoelaces.
It seems
That's a good one.
You can think about it, but that's a great example. You got shoes on your feet.
Yeah.
That's
Like,
right.
You got feet.
You have feet.
Attached to those feet are 10 toes.
Right.
9 toes.
When I first when I
Why doesn't that surprise?
Yeah, we'll tell that story. But when I first started doing it, it's like, oh, I'm grateful for this nice house. I'm grateful I got this gym. I'm grateful for my car and all this stuff, and my kids, and which all things to be grateful for. But then after a week or two, you're like, okay, well, I already said that one. Wait a minute. I was grateful for Jackson a couple of days ago. Great. So you start really thinking about it, and it's like, oh, okay. Now you start to get it to where it's like you really start to dig down into okay, what am I really grateful for? I'm really grateful that we are just here, and,
right?
And I have all my toes.
That's right, all my toes.
Right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely.
So that's a great exercise to do. I like
it.
That
Is.
one.
And that extends over a lot of different arenas. I find that with writing, sometimes being concerned of, I'm going to run out of things to say. And it's like, how can you live a life not putting your words out there because you're afraid of running out of things to say? If that's the case, go create more things.
Right.
If you're running out of things to be have gratitude for, go find things to be more grateful for.
That's right.
Go find new friends.
That's
go
right.
do new things. Go pay compliments that make you uncomfortable in an effort to, extend that list.
Right.
Who are you waving at over there?
Chris Perry said,
All
somebody
right.
wave at me. I'm watching.
He's crying.
Oh, he finally showed up.
I want him to note my not paying attention.
Oh.
To
Chris, Vaughn and I still love you. Just a shout out.
We do.
I do too,
Yeah.
because Chris had Amanda give me a hug, and she did.
Yeah, and he said to give you a kiss on the cheek, but I forgot to do that.
Oh,
I'm grateful.
I'm
for
sure
Chris
Wilson
Perry.
would welcome that.
Yeah, we can work out something.
Happen later.
You also said something about you mentioned that there's a reason for everything. There's a reason for different addictions. There's a reason
Right.
for gambling. There's a reason for. I see people a lot, especially with drugs and alcohol, that get caught up in finding that reason.
Right.
And I tell people all the time, it doesn't matter why you do. You need to find out what makes you don't.
Right.
It's not important. What makes you do? They say, people you can't be too stupid to get sober, but you can be too smart.
Yeah.
You can think your way into more problems. And if thinking is a problem, more thinking is not going to fix that problem.
That's right.
And sitting around and thinking, well, I'm going to lick this by intellect, but you've had the same intellect since you've had this problem. Most likely, you're not going to intellectualize yourself out of that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And so then you look at things and you think, well, I've never tried riding a bike. I've never tried cross stitching. I've never tried playing the flute. I've never tried CrossFit or whatever the hell it
Right.
is. Well, sometimes by process of elimination, by virtue, you simply have to do whatever you haven't done.
That's right. That's true. Yeah.
And you find things that you go into those things and you find what you didn't know was there. You go in and you intellectualize, well, if I go to the gym, then there's going to be hard work and there's going to be a bunch of squats and there's going to be a bunch of sweating and it's going to be uncomfortable.
That's what my thing is. Oh, I gotta sweat. But then once I sweat, I'm okay. But it's just like the thought of having to get sweaty.
Yeah.
It's just like, ugh, I really don't want to do
Isn't that weird? Like I was going to say that a minute ago. It's like we do all these things in our mind to like, I don't want to go work out. I would rather just stay in bed. But every single time you get there, when the clock starts, you always feel better.
Yeah,
That's right.
Every single time. Like even if I'm not something I'm not good at, even if it's somebody else is beating me or whatever, every single time, like I'm glad that I showed up.
That's right.
So it's crazy how that works. Like you could go like a whole month or a week where you're like, I don't want to do that. Just stay home. And you start progressively feeling bad or worse. That's it, badder.
Batter.
You're feeling better.
So you start progressively feeling worse, but then as soon as you show up, it's like, oh my God, why wasn't I here 5 days ago? Because it feels so good.
Isn't it crazy that you still don't do something that has like 100% success rate?
Right. I watched a great TED Talk yesterday. This guy, how to stop feeling bad for yourself, or I'll look it up and post it on the group or whatever. But this guy was saying you just have to get dumb. The first thing you have to do is get your mind is screwing everything up. So the first thing you have to do is like this old dude, and he's on stage and he's like, the first thing you got to do is duh. Duh. And he said, if you start whenever you start a new project or some goal you have, start with duh. You just have to be stupid. Oh, yeah. Don't think about it. You're dumb. You don't know anything, because all these thoughts and everything in your head is always going to work against you. So start, like you were saying, I've never tried this before. I've never done this.
Right.
Just go into everything stupid, just dumb, and you don't know anything, and that's where you get the magic. Because if you go into it like, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to attack this, and I know how to do this, and this is going to make me successful. That's not going to work. What's going to work is, okay, I don't know anything about any of this. I'm just going to go and learn and do it. And I'm not going to let any of these thoughts get in my way.
I want to know what that TED Talk is, and I'm going to watch it tomorrow, because I feel that way. I've heard it said in different areas that one of the worst things in the world is contempt prior to investigation, and that is thinking that you know before you do.
Right.
And I've also been told that there's nothing else for you to learn. There's a lot for you to forget and unlearn and not believe that you know quite as well as you believe yourself to know it. Mm-hmm. And I say all the time that my ignorance is inversely related to my happiness. The more ignorant I am, they're conversely related. The more ignorant I am, the happier I am. I have less things to argue about. I have less preset beliefs and notions. I don't feel like I need to be as smart as sometimes I believe the world wants me to believe that I am.
Yeah, right. And
absolutely.
I feel like that's what this guy was talking about, is just, why can't you just let go of all that stuff? Just forget about it. Just it's all, because I have a lot of that too, a lot of it. But like, just forget about it. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, okay.
Let go and be amazed. Right. And just let everything amaze you.
Yeah, that's right.
Like you've never seen it again, and just whoa.
I could scare my doctors by doing that.
Well, you probably.
Oh yeah.
Don't take this.
Have you
to
heard
work.
of this drug interaction? Oh my God!
Really?
No! Holy cow!
Can't believe that.
Tomorrow, there's going to be somebody laying in the ER, and Amanda's going to be like, you know what? I don't know what to give them.
You know what? Vaughn said, "F it." Beep. I just need to let it go.
So, Sam, you worked out at the DAC before coming to CrossFit. Did you CrossFit any before you came?
No,
to
it's
CrossFit?
really funny because years ago, I can't remember, probably 3 or 4 years ago, I started watching the CrossFit games. I just saw it on ESPN one day, and I started seeing these CrossFit stickers all over South Haven, and didn't have any clue really what it was all about. Started watching it about 3.5 years ago. I was having chest pains, and I was having some issues, because I was about 235 pounds. And I I went and saw a friend of mine. I was a mascot in college, and he was a cheerleader, and he was a cardiologist now. Went and saw him one day, and he put me on a stress test, and I got off the treadmill, and we've got a pretty good relationship, so he could say this to me. He said, there's one reason why you're having these pains. And I said, why is that? He said, you're fat. I said, you're right. So when we moved
235, what are you now?
I'm about 185, probably.
Excuse me, go ahead.
Yeah, so anyway, when we moved to South Haven, I started going to the DAC, and like so many people that belong to a gym, never went. Then February of 3.5 years ago, February, went to the DAC, and I'm going to join team training. And team training is a group fitness. It's high-intensity interval training. It's a great program. Met a lady named Marquetta that works down at the DAC, and she started just trying to kill me, and I just was in such bad shape. But I started dropping. I joined this Biggest Loser contest they were having, and I dropped down to about 190 pounds, got in pretty good shape, went and ran a Warrior Dash and did all these things. But back in the back of my mind, I'm like, man, I really would like to try this CrossFit thing. That would be a lot of fun. Kept watching the CrossFit games. Keep telling myself, people would come up to me on the street and say, I'd say, I want to go do CrossFit. And they said, well, you're going to hurt yourself. I was like, well, I don't want to hurt myself, so I can't go do CrossFit. So I went and tried another.
And you'll get rhabdo.
That's right. So I went and tried a CrossFit box in town. Didn't really have a great experience with it, so I just kind of let that vision go for a while and kept doing group training, but all at the same time I still had an itch for it. And I started listening to the Lift Heavy Run Long podcast. Imagine that, little shout out to the podcast. Started listening to it, heard some people on the podcast that went to Olive Branch CrossFit. A friend of mine named Jeff Sullivan, he and I worked together in the working world, and I saw him one day.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he works for one company, I work for another, but we have a lot of interaction together. And he and I were talking one night, and he said, yeah, man, I've started doing this CrossFit thing. I'm like, really? And he said, yeah. I said, where? He said, Olive Branch CrossFit. I said, oh, okay. And he said, Saturdays are free. Well, they're free. Wow, okay, well, I'll come down and try it out. So the first time I came down on Saturday, I came down. Of course, I'm come from the DAC. I do team training. I'm going to kill this thing. This is going to be easy. About an hour later, I'm laying in the middle of the floor by the fan. I'd seen pictures of people laying in the middle of the floor by the fan, but I didn't really know why they were laying in the middle of the floor by the fan.
All of a sudden, you're that
I'm
guy.
like, I'm dying. Help me. So anyway, I really fell in love with it, and I fell in love with our community. Good people, and of course, I had already listened to the podcast. I went up to Amanda the first time I ever met her, and I said, I feel like a stalker because I know who you are. I know you're married to. I know so many things about you, and I feel kind of weird. And I think I did the same thing to Scott Hollis, Mark Fortune. And I'm sorry I already know your name, but I know who you are.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm glad I'm doing it now. I mean, it's a very frustrating process when you first start because how many people, I'd never done I'd never done a snatch with a barbell. A lot of these exercises I'd never done before. I'd done a lot of kettlebell work and I'd done a lot of battle ropes and things like that, but I'd never done a lot of the Olympic lifting and some of the gymnastic stuff. And, it's still frustrating, In fact, I can't do a bar muscle up or, a lot of these things. It's frustrating sometimes, but every little victory that you get, there are always pictures. There's a picture of Carly this morning getting some pull-ups, and you feel happy for them. And every time I do something I haven't done before, I've gotten better at rowing. I mean, I'm not Amanda, but I'm getting there, every day you just get better, and you got to realize that. It humbles you.
Have you ever been in shape?
Oh yeah, I mean, I grew up playing football and so I was in shape. At a young age.
Do you have a highlight film?
Not like yours.
Okay.
I wish I'm in the yearbook, but it's a side picture, and you kind of don't know it's me, which kind of stinks. 84, man. I was in the picture. Me and the coach, 84. Coach Larry Cole. Shout out to Larry Cole, greatest coach in the world.
Have you posted your play reel thing on
my
online?
highlight film? No,
we need
because
that.
I don't have it.
Oh, okay.
You got to get that complete.
I took the VCR tape and I converted it to DVD, which was a bold move.
Oh yeah,
and a big thing to do.
That's pretty good for you.
But I lost it.
Okay.
Oh no.
Yeah, can you imagine what it? Obviously, that's a very powerful thing for me if I'm going to get up and actually take that somewhere and have them do that. But now I can't find it.
Uh-oh.
And it's a problem.
Yeah.
Because, yes, I would post it all over Facebook or whoever would watch it.
Oh, yeah.
I would probably like grill out, have a big cookout, and be like, anybody that will come watch this, I'll feed you steaks.
We'll just make it the landing page on the website.
Absolutely.
That's what you look at.
Oh, just rolling all the time.
When
Can
you
you
go
do
to
that to where
liftheavyrunlong.com, it's just a big giant.
I think it's a 30 for 30. You know, this month on the 30 for 30. The day Wilson Horrell was out on the football field and laid the smack down.
I'm going to make my own 30
Well,
for 30.
that's what I was
Perfect.
going to say. We should
30
just
for
do
30.
let me
Submit it to
narrate
ESPN.
I'll narrate it, and you just be the subject.
Oh, yeah.
And then I can
yeah.
interview you.
I invented football concussions because I created that stuff, you know?
So, Wilson, tell me about that famous picture. The one where you got that number 72.
Oh,
You're
it's
All-American.
Right there.
All American.
Running
Tell us
out.
about when you were 6'5".
And now tell us about the Coors Light. Tell us about
We
that.
can
Going
make
down.
something happen with that.
That really
sure.
could be a 30-30.
The
yeah.
spiral down.
30 for 30.
The downward spiral.
We watched the 30 for 30, and I don't think I've ever sat and cried after one
good
ended.
stuff.
Which one was it?
30 for 30, you mean?
Yes.
You sit and cry at dog movies.
I know, but 30 for 30 you usually don't cry at. But the guy's life, I can't remember his name, the boxer.
Tommy Duke Morrison.
That's
Oh,
it.
yeah.
I don't know who that
That's a
is.
good one.
They
you
ended
remember
that.
him from Rocky V?
Oh, yeah.
He
The
was a white
blonde
guy.
kid.
Oh, that's
blonde
who that was? Okay.
guy.
He was
Oh,
an
my
ex-grade
God.
heavyweight
Yeah.
champion,
Yeah.
man, Tommy the
Ooh,
Duke.
Yep. I would have swore that he fought Mike Tyson. I would have swore to you. I would have bet money that I watched him fight Mike Tyson.
I think he got AIDS. They
did.
found out he had AIDS. I think that was in the lead up to him fighting
Yes.
Mike Tyson.
It was.
Two fights
He was
before
John
Mike.
Wayne's nephew, man.
That was.
That's why he was the Duke.
He told people he was John Wayne's
Oh,
nephew. On the 30 for
okay.
30, they're pretty clear about the
Yeah,
fact
gotta
that
be real.
nobody really bought
Okay, I didn't
that.
know that.
Oh,
Vaughn, we're in
wow.
the dark, man.
Yeah,
Wow.
but it was good. And at the end, after like the credits were rolling, I sat and cried. Just how pitiful his story was.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That was touching.
Had everything.
I'll tell you a story that's going to be worth crying about. I feel confident is the Ric Flair 30
Oh,
for 30 when that
I
comes
can't wait
out.
for that.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
apparently the whole Ric Flair got taken to the Nature Boy went on and on and on when he couldn't turn Nature Boy off, and so
Yeah.
there was a decline
Yeah.
there. I can't wait to watch that.
Oh, yeah. Good stuff.
So, you said you wanted to run a half. Have you ever done that?
No, that was a promise I made to my dad. Like I said, before my mom got assaulted, I got in shape to do it. I was running 10 miles on my long runs, and I was pretty much there. I was going to run the Frostbite half marathon in Starkville, and so I didn't do it. So last year, my wife and I, we signed up for the St. Jude 5K, and I get out there, and if I could have upgraded to the half marathon on site, I would have done it, and so I told myself last year, I said, okay, I'm going to run that half marathon next year, and going to do it for my dad. I always told my dad I'd do a half marathon, because he, in his later years, he started running. He'd run a few 5Ks and 10Ks, didn't break any world records or anything, but it was something fun to go do. And, I never got to run a race with him, and I feel horrible about that, but I never did. But I made that promise to him that I would run a half marathon. So here we go. I'm going to start training tomorrow. That's my motto.
I have this thing that the people that work out in our gym and train in our gym, like I could just take you, I can just look at you and I can just take you to a half marathon tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I feel like we hold people to a high standard on this show, and we kind of have a record of making people commit to things. I feel like really you should just bump that up to the full marathon.
Oh, that's a negative Ghost Rider.
Not a chance.
Not a chance. I think
say
the full
that with
marathon's
conviction.
full. I think it's full.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't upgrade that.
Well, there's other marathons.
Oh, well, I think my leg would fall off if I ran a marathon.
You could still technically you could still sign up for Tunnel
There's
Hill.
a
and
rule
go
that
with
people
us.
with 9 toes can't run, especially
You
50
could
miles.
go to Illinois with us and run 26 miles
Yeah.
with me. You could run with me. I'm going to go real slow.
You entertain me the whole way.
I would.
Okay.
You can pick up with him on mile 74.
You can register.
That would be about my speed.
And he'll
by
be
then.
delirious by then,
Oh, yeah.
so
Oh,
you
yeah.
can
register
help
for
him.
the 50 miler,
Yeah.
and you can just be out there running.
Yeah.
There's really no reason not to.
Oh, well, there's plenty of reasons not to. Like
And if
walking the next day, continue to earn a living at a job where you have to stand most of the day.
I would even
Aside
say,
from those,
I would even say
got two.
if you ran 13 miles and you decided you didn't want to run anymore,
Yeah, you'd be done.
you could just be done.
just run the,
Oh, yeah.
just go turn around and do the 13 back and
Oh, yeah.
be done with
Go
it.
hang out with the support crew. pit
That's
crew,
what
back to the tent.
people forget is
Yeah.
you only have to get one direction.
Yeah.
You know, on a long run, if you can make it, if you're setting out to do 20 and you get to 10, well, the rest is just getting home.
Yeah.
And that's where people get lost in the whole distance.
Yeah, I'm
part of it.
resisting the peer pressure here really, really hard.
Yeah, you think you can continue this kind of resistance?
I don't know.
You
I
will
could be
break
worn
down.
down
You
after
will
a while,
not get
yeah.
stronger.
we
You
will have
break
you on the
down.
show every single week.
Until you do
Until-
it.
By
It's Groundhog
Christmas,
Day.
by episode 100, you will
That's right.
have signed up or have run a 26.2 mile
Yeah,
race.
Let's see.
His on episode 100, the plan is
There's a plan.
Keto Chris is going to get Jerry Lawler to be on the show, and we're going to have a studio audience, and Scott Hollis is going to play he's going to play an instrument. We're going to have a band,
We need to cater that thing.
and he
just make
wants
it
us
big.
to
Dress in tuxes.
dress in
Kinda like
tuxedos.
Hey,
Tonight's show.
I'd like to deadlift 300 pounds on the 100 show.
Oh, perfect.
That would be
Oh,
great.
yeah.
Yeah,
kidding.
in a cocktail
In a
dress.
cocktail.
Hey,
Yes.
we need to make it a whole day. Like not do it on a Thursday, right? And maybe do it like on a Saturday,
Okay.
where
Yeah.
we can do like an event,
It's a simulcast event.
like where we can train at the gym,
Oh, yeah.
you know, and
A
then
day in the life.
cater some food back here.
Watch other people train at the gym. Because I don't want to do any of this
Look,
stuff.
Commentate.
I mean, maybe we could probably do the show at the gym. I guess.
Oh yeah, we
Absolutely.
could
Perfect.
commentate while everybody else
Commentate.
is doing
And
stuff.
so we could just set everything up there, have food and whatever.
Looks like Paul Pinkley's at the trash can.
Just make
again.
100. What? Hey, that's doable, man. Let's do that.
I'm
I
game.
think that's a great idea for episode 100.
We need to do something.
Episode 100.
Episode 100.
100.
It's a big deal.
Episode hundo.
That's right. 100.
We need to get the plastic glasses with the 100 right there.
I run 100 miles. I got 100 podcasts.
Oh, there you go.
You can do 100 for 100.
That's right. We can. There's all. I mean, the possibilities are
Ideas
limitless.
are endless.
And so, if on episode 100 we're sitting here doing this, then if we're talking,
Where's your ambition?
if we're talking that big, then we need to do something that big.
We do need to do it that big.
But that doesn't involve just hoping it happens.
That's
that would
right.
involve some work and some effort and some stuff.
Yep.
That's right. I'm game
Good
for it.
stuff.
And you will be the inspiration.
Hey.
And
here you
on
go.
that, during this period of time, Sam will leave from the gym and come back 26.2 miles
Oh,
later,
yeah.
and we'll have confetti.
That'll be the
balls
letdown
and-
of the
Oh,
show.
right. That's right.
Where'd
we'll make
Sam
him
go?
We make him run 26
Where's Waldo?
miles.
Where's Sam?
We'll do live
There you
updates
go.
on Sam while he's running.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
we'll
hey,
have
welcome
Chris
to
go
Hey,
out
he's in the
there.
ditch.
Welcome
He's falling face down in the ditch. And we
Welcome
can't
to episode
understand what's going on.
100. Sam is doing 26.2 miles, 1 mile at a time from the gym.
That's right.
He's doing 200-meter
You're
shots.
all-
Oh, yeah.
Hey,
Get the
listen.
200 mark and back.
Hey, I did 40 miles for my birthday,
Oh.
1 mile at a time. With
The
my
least
own
you can
fun.
do is 26. If he's going to
Yeah.
do 40,
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
Then-
setting the bar high.
I don't know if Parkwood is more than a mile from the gym, but I can. You may go and
Just
just,
run
check.
straight
just
there,
run
check in.
straight
Check
through
me
the
in.
front door.
Yeah, you got a room here with padding. I'm kind of looking for one.
I'm friends with Wilson. This is
Yeah.
a terrible idea.
He said to come here.
Let me.
Yeah,
Oh,
Wilson, we
man.
know him. We got the room right here. It's his room. The Wilson Horrell Memorial Room.
plaque and everything.
Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah.
There's. I have a lot more questions that I want to ask, but we're to the hour point, and I'm going to cut it off at the hour. Man, I want to tell you, you are a shining light at the gym.
Yeah, well, thank you.
It makes me so comfortable to see you at 5 a.m. and to know that you're going to be there. I've changed my time to starting to come in the mornings.
Yeah.
And just
Woohoo.
a lot of people feel that way about you.
Well, thank you.
You know, and what you bring with you is something that you're not going to hear that a lot because people won't vocalize how you make them feel, which is probably good because it makes people uncomfortable a lot of the times.
Yeah.
But You're a special guy.
Well, thank you.
And I'm glad to know you. I'm glad to have you in my life, and I hope that you keep doing everything that you're doing.
Oh,
you're
absolutely.
you're carrying on the beefcake torch.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
It's as a gym owner, I can tell you it's weird. Like, how do we end up with all these great people? And I never understood it. Wilson was that guy for a long time, still is.
Oh yeah.
But everybody knows him now. Before it's like. I don't really know what I'm trying to say, but it's
it's supposed to be flattering, whatever it is.
It is. It should be flattering because like there's these people that everybody looks up to, and everybody like, oh man, I got to work out with Wilson today, or I got to do this, and it's so like, not novelty, but it's like it's a thing. It's just a thing where people's like, oh yeah, Wilson's in my class. Every time he shows up, it's a great class.
Oh yeah.
And there's those people like that, and you're one of those people.
Well, thank you.
And when we have lots of those people, but we have the best of those people. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I don't know how it happens. It just kind of worked out that way, and we're very fortunate to be able to have those kinds of people in our gym.
Well, and hearing you guys on the podcast certainly made an impact on me. And when you walk through the door, people smile at you and shake your hand and say hello and introduce themselves. And, the Facebook group we've got for the gym and for Lift Heavy Run Long, there's so much encouragement on that. And I think it brings people in, because everybody's scared the first day they walk through the gym. You don't know what to expect. So it's nice when people reach out to you, And
you don't get that everywhere.
No, you don't.
Like it's weird. Like you don't get like everything's okay. You can do whatever you want. And, if you want to do this workout, you can, or whatever it is you want to do, you can go do it. And there's no like, oh, well, Mr. Science said you can't do that. And so you better go.
Yep.
Yeah, Mr. Science does not live here. Mr. Science doesn't work here. He's not employed here. He has nothing to do with here at all.
That's right.
Episode number 68 with Sam Renfrow is in the books.
All right. Woo.
Woo-woo.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Mr. Science.